say. It's showtime.
No business like show business like no business.
That's great
like
TV.
Okay, ready?
Patrolling your neighborhood at Friday.
Patrolling your neighborhood every Friday night at 8. That's easy.
Patrolling your neighborhood every Friday night at 8.
This guy is the worst actor I have ever seen.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another of my misunderstood movie reviews. Today I'm taking a look at the 2002 action comedy Showtime. The film is directed by Tom Day and it stars Robert De Niro, Eddie Murphy and Rene Russo. Now the film follows Robert De Niro's character, Detective Mitch Preston, who's a bit of a renegade cop. At the beginning of the film, while chasing some suspects, he ends up basically shooting a camera crew's camera. So the studio, with the idea for doing like a reality TV show, a cops-related reality TV show, basically blackmail the police department and say, right, we're going to do a reality TV show. We want De Niro's character, Mitch Preston, as the main star, and we're going to pair him up with a partner. Eddie Murphy's character, Officer Trey Sellers, who is a police officer, but he wants to be an actor, gets wind of this and he sets up like an audition. They love it. Rene Russo's character, the kind of producer of the show, loves his audition, and they end up putting these two together, much to the dismay of Robert De Niro's character. They then have cameras following them everywhere as Robert De Niro tries to solve a serious case involving a giant shotgun that can kind of blow holes in anything. Right, what are my thoughts on Showtime? Well, I've wanted to do a review for this for a long time. For my misunderstood movie reviews, I've always felt that this film has kind of, not been recognised. Now, I'm not saying that this is, one of Robert De Niro's best. I'm not even saying this is one of Eddie Murphy's best. What I am saying, though, that this is actually a really quite entertaining watch if you give it a chance. I think at the time when this came out, Eddie Murphy was, struggling quite a lot with aspects of his career and stuff like that. And it seemed like, it was every film that it was putting out was kind of getting crapped on by critics and film reviewers and stuff like that. And I've never felt that this film kind of deserved all of that. Now, essentially, you look at this, Robert De Niro, Eddie Murphy, how is this going to work? Well, we already know that Robert De Niro has got some serious comedy skills. We saw this, when he started doing that with films like Meet the Parents and stuff. And we know the talents of Eddie Murphy, so this absolutely should work on screen. And absolutely one of the strongest elements of this film is the chemistry between De Niro and Eddie Murphy. You throw Rene Russo into the mix, also, is a captivating watch. He's always great, generally speaking, in any film. And you've got a decent film here with a few decent chuckles and some decent action too. I've always felt that this film had deserved to have more eyes on it because it's a nicely constructed film. The biggest weakness of this film by far is the weak villain. At the time, Hollywood was obsessed with putting like European actors in villainous roles, like you saw it in Bad Boys. I mean, you saw it over and over again in these movies, and it was just the villain here in this is arguably one of the most forgettable in any action film or action comedy you care to mention. The film, for me, there's a big chunk of this film that just works. This whole aspect of De Niro's character just not wanting to be a part of this reality show. He couldn't think of anything worse. The fact that he's got to team up with Eddie Murphy, someone who he doesn't respect, who's not even a detective, he's just a patrolman. So they're constantly bickering and arguing and not getting on and all this kind of stuff. Eddie Murphy's character is playing up to the camera. De Niro's character would rather not be anywhere near the camera. So you've got that going on lovely, and the fact that they're redecorating De Niro's apartment and giving him a Humvee to drive and all this kind of stuff. It's good stuff. And then you've got this villain that is just so unmemorable, it's unbelievable. So the big chunk of this film, I think, works really well. You've got that whole dynamic thing going on. You've got a priceless scene where you've got William Shatner teaching them both how to be TV cops, obviously from his TJ Hooker days. And it's just gold. It's absolute cinema gold watching William Shatner giving them TV cop tips, Eddie Murphy's character eating it up, and De Niro's character basically giving him the real reasons why you can't be doing this. Why no real cop tests drugs with the fingers, or why you never see a real cop sliding across the bonnet of a car. And it makes for good movies, and it makes for a good chuckle as you're watching it. So there's loads of really memorable stuff going on here in this film, and for a big chunk of it, it really works. But as soon as the villain, there's a scene where they go to interrogate a criminal behind bars who's got the location of the person who's got this big shotgun thing. They go interrogate him in jail, what Eddie Murphy's character does. He does the old Axel Foley thing, you know what I mean, where he pretends to be somebody else. And then after that, when they get the location of the villain and they go and see the villain in his nightclub, from that moment on, I think the film kind of loses something. It's almost like, right, okay, we need to be serious now. We need to find some action to do. And from that, for me, kind of the interest of the film kind of falls off a cliff because it just doesn't work, because it wants you to kind of take the film seriously then. And it's hard to take it seriously from what you've seen leading up to it. So while there are some elements of this film that are pretty unbalanced and are kind of at odds with each other, the bickering partner thing works. The chemistry between De Niro and Murphy works. William Shatner is golden in this film, absolutely brilliant. So the comedy stuff really works. I mean, there's a booth that they are contractually obliged to spend 5 minutes in a day. Eddie Murphy's in there, absolutely loving it. You know what I mean? And then you've got De Niro in there who doesn't want to be in there, so he sits in there for 5 minutes and he'll read like the newspaper or give himself a shave and stuff like that, and do stupid quotes from movies like quotes from Dirty Harry and stuff like that. It's really, really good. So for a good 70% of this film, I think it absolutely knocks it out of the park. And when it tries to get serious, and it brings the villain into the piece, it kind of, for me, loses a little bit of that fun element. So if you've never seen Showtime, it's a curious film. It's a curious film on both Eddie Murphy's and Robert De Niro's filmography. But for me, it's definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it. It's one of those films that, maybe a lot of you have never even heard of. I'm not sure, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. I think it definitely deserves a little bit of love, because it didn't do well critically or at the box office when it first came out, and that's what these reviews are all about, putting the spotlight on films that I think deserve a little bit more respect. So let me know your comment in the comments what your thoughts are on this film. Are you a fan of Showtime? Do you think it deserves a little bit more respect? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. So thanks for joining me for this review. I'll be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.